Welcome to Wake Up Call. I'm your host, Melody Brooke. Every day we will bring you guests that will wake you up to a new reality. So I know that you've really had a lot of experiences that led you up to being able to create this wonderful series that you're working on.
Yeah. Well, first of all, my character's name is Jimmy O'Neill. And my brother, who died of congestive heart failure about 4 years ago, he had so much going for him. He really did. He was such a great guy. And I always looked up to him. He was my older brother. And so what I did was I named my character Jimmy O'Neill as a tribute to him. Because I started to think, what can I do in this world that would bring goodness into the world and talk about other people that influenced my life in some way. And I grew up in a household of, there were a lot of alcoholics on my dad's side. And I grew up doing drugs, alcohol, and I was addicted for more than 20 years at the time. And so I had this spiritual experience, and I was challenged to go to a church meeting, which I never wanted to go to. I believed in God. I didn't have to tell anybody I didn't have to have somebody to tell me that I needed God in my life. I believed in Him. But I went to this church experience, this church meeting, and I had an experience that I'll never forget. I remember everyone praying, and the music was going, and it was great. People were dancing. I was kind of doing, let's do my club dancing in church. I look strange now that I look back at it. And at the end of the service, I remember wanting to leave, and I looked back and I saw these two ushers who reminded me of two bouncers, being a club guy. I sang in clubs and things. And I just closed my eyes and I said, God, if you're real, I want to see something, because I never want to come back here again. I never want to come to any one of these things ever again. And just then it felt like my head opened up and this white light came down from the crown of my head to the soles of my feet. And when I opened up my eyes, I said, wow. I was so excited, I said it backwards, wow. Little joke there. Anyway.
So when you had this experience, before that, your life was like a lot of people's, the suffering from the addictions and dysfunctions and a childhood of traumatic experiences, and yet here you are today.
Well, you know, Melody, every person that I had in my life that I could remember always said, you'll never make it. You'll never make it. The principal and vice principal of my school said, you'll never make it to your senior year. So what I did was I made it to my senior year. I had that tenacity to prove them wrong, made it to my senior year, and then in my senior year I quit school. And then for the next 10 years, I was working in factories, low-level jobs. I was unhappy. I was addicted to drugs, just going nowhere. And then one day I had kind of an awakening. You know, before my spiritual experience, I went back to college. I went back to school, got my high school diploma, my GED, got my college diploma, and then from then on, that's when I had that church experience.
But even though you had gone to school and had trying to get your life back on track, you still suffered from the addictions. You still were acting out. You still weren't really achieving what you could achieve.
No, not at all. I mean, yeah, I was still unfulfilled. I really was. And so after that experience, I started to realize, wow, you know, I have this gift of singing, and so I started singing more. But you know, I started to see things clearer. I mean, I could literally see people instead of blurry visions. I saw people. I started to smell things. I started to realize I'm taking life in more, and that's what I wanted to do.
So it sounds like what happened was a true spiritual healing.
Yes, totally.
And in that process, you got the gift of being fully present.
Yes, that's all.
You know, because so many of us just kind of walk through our lives with this kind of half-life. Yes. And we don't realize how much more there is to our life.
Well, you know, I just wrote this book called In the Moment. It's a devotional, inspirational book, and it's talking about living in the moment. And you read a page a day. And I take a movie, like say On the Waterfront, and it's about the life of Terry Malloy. And I just give a brief synopsis about that, and then I write a lot of what I went through. And so it's very inspirational. And that's what inspired me to write Bailout, the TV show that I'm doing right now.
So for our audience, what words of advice could you give to someone who is like you, who's struggling, who maybe they have some dysfunctions in their life, like a lot of us do, and and they're struggling and they don't know how to step forward, what would you think, what would the advice be that you would give?
Well, of course, some of the biggest things are tenacity, persistence. That should always be available. But you've got to find out who you are, and then really, and this is very difficult, really start to like yourself, and in turn fall in love with yourself. And once you do that, I mean, you've got it licked. There's nothing you can't achieve, nothing you can't do. One of the things that stops, I believe, that stopped me from being who I really can be is that I never liked myself. Because it was told to me, you'll never achieve anything, so why would I like somebody like me? Why would I want to hang out with me? Now, I go to the movies with myself. I mean, I take myself out to dinner. I mean, I really do. I treat myself really well because I learned to fall in love with who I am, with who God made me to be.
You know, I totally see that in your eyes. You just simply glow with that sense of love and passion. And the cool thing is, it's not like the narcissism that we think of when we think about self-love. You know, it's not that at all.
No.
I can feel it in your presence, this sort of glowing sense of contented presence and just being in love with life and your life.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's you falling in love with life, and then you find out, wow, I really am. It's like Terry Malloy said, I could be somebody, I could be a pretender instead of a bum, which is what I am. I was a bum, but now I am a champ. So there.
Well, Dennis, you truly are an inspiration. So I really appreciate your being here today.
Thank you very much.